share this.
Can I get this in there then?
Mayor Panko, we're on.
Ready? Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our first meeting of the year, Committee of the Whole. I'm your chair this evening, Peter McKenna. We'll start with our land acknowledgement. January 6, 2025, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smiths Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. The land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We're grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smiths Falls. We're mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on our strengths of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. So the meeting's called to order. I have we're going to amend our agenda with the committee's approval. If we could remove item 10.3, Bellamy Farm Subdivision Report. So the recommended motion is that the January 6, 2025 Special Committee of the Whole meeting be approved as amended. Moved by Councillor Robinson, second by Councillor McGuire. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. With that in mind, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest, conflict of interest? Councillor Miller.
Thank you. I need to declare a conflict in item 10.2. My employer is applying for a community grant.
Thank you. So noted. We have no approval of the minutes. We do have a delegation. Jose Bourgeois, welcome. It's delighted to have you here, and she's going to talk about the Spirit of the Drum powwow, which we're pretty pumped about for next June. And so I'm going to turn the floor back over to you, Jose.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Kwe kakina, Jose Nandishna Kaspik Wakanagan and Dojaban on Anishinaabe Kwe on Anishinaabe Aki Kakina Gawadag Ganangum Sanogma. So I'd like to just introduce myself. My name is Jose. I'm an Algonquin woman. I live on my ancestral Algonquin territory in Pikwakanagan. And I'm really pleased to be able to meet everybody here today. I was the one that kind of asked Mayor Panko if he thought it was appropriate at this point in time to start formalizing a relationship through several conversations that have obviously happened between myself and Mayor Panko and Stephanie through, rebuilding where we're at now today with the Spirit of the Drum powwow. I've just learned a couple of little things here and there that there's maybe an appropriate time to provide you guys with an opportunity to ask me any questions. And maybe if there's a discovery through this conversation, then I can take some time in the near future to prepare something formal to address any of those questions. But today was really just an offering of just establishing kind of like a marking point in this relationship to just meet everybody. So if you don't mind, could I meet everybody around the table?
Yes, and I'm so pleased you're here. I'm Peter McKenna, and I'm the chair this evening and for the month of January.
Nice to meet you, Peter.
Nice to meet you too. We're going to go to Councillor Brennan, who's down south, beside you on the screen.
Hi, Jose. Lovely to meet you. Looking forward to the event.
And we'll start on our left.
Hi, Jose. It's Chris McGuire. It's good to see you again. Thanks for coming tonight.
Steve Robinson. Pleased to meet you. Thanks for coming.
Jose, I guess you know me. We've talked many times and met. Thanks for being here tonight.
Hi, Jose. I'm Jennifer Miller. We met a few years ago. I worked for the town directly and was involved with the powwow, and I'm so glad it's going to be back this year. Thank you.
Hi, Jose. I'm Dawn Quinn, town councilor, and it's really nice to have you here this evening. And it's nice to have the powwow going to be here again this year, but it's lovely to have you here and making that contact. It's perfect. Thank you.
And we have a couple of staff up here with us, so I'll let them introduce themselves.
Yes, Malcolm Morris, I'm the CAO for the town.
Hi, Jose. I'm Carrie Costello. It's nice to actually see your face. We've been corresponding over email. It's nice to meet you.
We also have two student counselors who will soon be joining us formally. They're in the audience, Ryan and Riker. They haven't been formally brought on, but they're in the room, and the room is half full of either staff or interested people. So back to you, Jose.
All right. Well, thank you so much for those introductions. I really appreciate that. It makes a difference when we're able to start just meeting each other in person. So, I mean, I don't have anything in particular that I wanted to address or get to the bottom of or anything like that. It really was an opportunity to maybe just I could provide maybe a little bit of an oversight of how we've gotten to this point throughout the years. Because I think one of the discoveries that I had realized was that there was misunderstanding, I guess, with who the partnership was established with in terms of who were the Algonquin partners. So I'll just take the time to distinguish that myself, Jose, I'm a band member of the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan First Nations. I reside here on my First Nations, but I'm an individual band member. I'm a powwow dancer. I've lived the last 16 years on the powwow trail, all the way from Halifax, Nova Scotia to western coast of Ontario. And I've been able to establish quite a name for myself over the years as a dancer, even with the National Arts Center. And over time, I believe that people in my community and in other surrounding Algonquin communities have gotten to know me as well. So back in 2016, Paul Meridew, who was the first person that I had ever had any point of contact with whatsoever from your town, period. I know that he comes from the school board, but I had received a phone call from him one day in 2016, and it was a very preliminary, general kind of question that he had. It was, hey, if the Smith Falls High School ever wanted to pursue in hosting a powwow, would you or do you know anyone that could help us do that? And there's a little bit of a backstory on how he was specifically directed to contact me, but I don't think that's really important for today. So I had told him, well, everything happens for a reason, and maybe we were connected for a good purpose. So I think I really can be somebody that can help you. And we started with a smaller budget back then. The first year, it was really we treated it really like a pilot project. We really had no idea, how it was going to be received, because traditionally, municipalities don't normally host on their lands powwows unless, example, say in Toronto back in the day when things were really awesome, there was these huge powwows, I mean enormous, that happened at the Sky Dome, right? And that really defined a big part of powwow culture in Canada. And I grew up with that influence because I lived in Toronto for almost 20 years when I was younger. So, to be able to create a relationship with Paul in the beginning, it was very student and school and volunteer and start small and see what we can do. And the first year, I mean, was really well received. I think our expectations were met. And then there was a really good feedback. And that was kind of the telltale. I knew that I know how to throw a powwow. If we have all the things and the stuff to facilitate this logistically, really it's about who else shows up, what other drums show up, what are the vibes, And so after that first weekend of having Spirit of the Drum powwow, we felt really good about confidently speaking about the following year. And so we had a lot of momentum for about 4 or 5 years, I believe. And then everybody's story always gets interrupted with good old COVID. We tried to do a very educational based, revamp. I believe it was in 2022. The rain was not on our side. It rained so badly. And our 2-day event kind of came down to a 1-day event. But the common denominator throughout all of this is that the invited dancers and drums that I would reach out to, everybody was always actually kind of mad if they didn't get an invitation the following year. They were, because I think it's such a beautiful area, and nation to nation, there's different nations that come to powwows. Even though Smith Falls resides on Algonquin and Surrender territory, we still have the Mohawks that are very, very close, the Haudenosaunee, and Toronto is not that far by. You have other nations and other reserves that are out there as well. And I think the Rideau Canal plays such an important part in even just the sense of, powwows are a form of reclamation. We're reclaiming our language, we're reclaiming our songs, our garments that were forbidden and that were mocked and ridiculed. The concept of kill the Indian and save the man is still something that exists in today's society. And it's really important that I'm just really proud of this relationship that we've been able to establish with Smith Falls, because from my position, I'm 40 years old now. I have a 15-year-old son. So my son was born in 2009, the same year that Truth and Reconciliation Commission started to exist within the fabric of Canadian society, and my son's going to graduate in 2 years and not a whole lot has changed. Residential school denialism is still at an all-time high, to the point that the federal court is looking at implementing a bill to make it illegal to have residential school denialism speak in public, up to 2 years imprisonment. Not to get into anything political, but I just want to paint the fabric of where we are at in 2024. So the acts that this council and the town and the school board is making to continue this relationship is an act of reconciliation. These are the acts of reparations. These are the acts that our people, our different generations, and I see it too, because I see people like, oh, my mom really liked the powwow last year. Oh, my cookum really liked it. She liked being by the water there. She had stories of no. Like, she remembers when her family, these are times that families can come back together on these lands in a way that they never thought were going to be possible. And then to learn about the fact that it's me. I'm not a First Nations. I'm not the Algonquins of First Nations Chief and Council. I'm not the community recreation department that you guys are working with. This is just a very organic relationship that has occurred. So I don't want to, I can talk, guys. Trust me, I could talk forever. I will stop. Does anybody have any questions with that?
Thank you, Jose. It's a lovely summary. Any questions from my colleagues? I know that we are very excited about the perfect weather in June, and I'm working in partnership with our friends at the school board and the students, Parks Canada and the town, and all of the drummers. I'm really looking forward to it. It's been an interesting journey, and we don't know where it's going, but 2025 promises to be a wonderful year to hit reset and go forward.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time. And I know that we have your contact, the staff do, and Mayor Panko. So questions.
I would just like to share one quick thing before we go. If anything that I shared today planted any kind of seeds, and you foresee in the future that I could be of any benefit to continue to work with your council on any type of reconciliation work, I think that it's a very suiting, fluid relationship that could easily head in that direction. So I would like to just extend that invitation on my behalf that, I have an investment now in this relationship as well. This is over 5 years. This is 7, 8 years that we've been working together without really knowing each other. So that's why I wanted to establish this today. And just to put that offering on the table, that if you foresee that there's ever a time that would be an intersection of interest, then just know that I'm here to help you guys. Okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks, Jose, and not just for being here today, but for, I guess, reigniting this relationship and the journey and enabling the powwow to happen again, Spirit of the Drum powwow, June 14th and 15th on Duck and Duck Island. And it's a significant, it's a place of significance for our community. We installed our healing circle there last fall. We had it in place. We have it in place now for National Days of Truth and Reconciliation ceremonies, and when we did it there last fall, it was a real highlight to be able to be part of that and to see the reaction from members of our community, and some who find incredible solace and peace and feel connected to the Creator in ways that they don't anywhere else. So it's the guidance we've had from our Indigenous community, which has helped us do what we can, as you mentioned, towards reconciliation. And we know we've got a long way to go. We know there's never a destination. We'll simply continue on this road, but we know we cannot do without you. So thank you for.
One thing that would mean a lot is if I could see each and every one of you from council at the powwow, and you are more than welcome to join Sean in the Grand Entry delegation. So you just show up wearing whatever it is that you feel comfortable in, and we'll tell you where to stand, what to do, and it would be an honor to have you guys be a part of the Grand Entry delegation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, I'll let you go to continue the rest of your meeting, Miigwech, and we'll talk again sometime soon, hopefully.
Bye-bye. What a nice way to start 2025. CAO Directors Reports. Do we have any this evening?
None this evening.
Thank you. We're going to go in camera. I don't expect it'll be long to discuss personal matters, which usually means a person who may or may not be joining a committee. So I have a recommended motion to council the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls as provided in Section 239 of the Municipal Act as amended, move into closed session at 5:19 to discuss personal matter about identifiable individuals. Moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Brennan. See you. And all in favor? As I say, this should be brief.
Panko.
Thank you very much. We're back in open session. The riser report is, we did discuss committee appointments, and we're going to add 10.3 as a priority item tonight called committee appointments, and we'll get to that shortly. Item 10.1, the Smith Falls Community Improvement Annual Monitoring Report. Mr. Grant, welcome.
Thank you.
Over to you.
2024 marks the second year of the revamped CAP program has been in operation. As mandated in Section 7.2 of the bylaw, an annual monitoring and evaluation report is required to review the CAP program. Below, I've outlined a few of the key points. In 2024, we received 7 complete applications, all situated in the downtown core, roughly half of the applications that were received in 2023. Similar to 2023, CP programs for interior and exterior accessibility upgrades, facade improvements, and building code upgrades remain the most subscribed overall. The total estimated cost of all the CP projects in 2024 was calculated at $232.5 thousand, roughly half of the 2023's estimated cost of all CP projects, which in 2023 came in at $418,000. But it should be noted that half of that can be attributed to an ARU project, which costed $222,000. In 2024, there were 9 applicants, down from 15 in 2023. The 2024 CAP participation survey indicated that most applicants did not require an unreasonable amount of time to complete the applications. All respondents found the pre-consultation to be invaluable and were satisfied with the application processing timeline. However, some found that the marketing and promotion of the program could be improved with more reader-friendly material and more advertising to raise awareness. One of the common barriers to applying identified was the eligibility requirement that the subject property not be in arrears at the time of application. However, some business owners who are tenants do not have control over their landlord's ability to pay taxes on time. Also, it was discovered that some applicants in 2023 did not take advantage of the CP funds, some claiming that they could not match the required 50% contribution. Only 4 applications were canceled from 2023, with 6 complete to date. It was suggested that to staff, the current funding contribution for certain programs, such as facade improvements, Program 13, be increased to 100% to encourage program uptake. In 2023, $1,001 was budgeted for the CP budget. In 2024, the CP budget was increased to $125,000. For 2025, roughly 50,000 unclaimed and unused CAP funds will be added to the proposed CAP budget, totaling $150,000. Staff recommend that Council accept the support for information and pass a resolution activating all financial incentive programs under the CAP bylaw for 2025.
Thank you very much. You did use a little acronym there, ARU. Would you mind just telling the public or listening what that is?
An ARU is an additional residential unit, so it's similar to a granny suite.
Thank you. I do want to thank you for the report. These are annual summary reports of the work of last year, and I find them very helpful. It's a good overview and going back to 2023 in comparison, so I really appreciated that. So I'll turn it over to my colleagues. There's couple of decisions. One is the receipt of the report, and 2 is the activation of all of the 15. I just looked at my colleagues to see if you have any comments. Councillor McGuire, why don't you start us off?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Thanks a lot, Richard. I appreciate the report tonight. I'd like to add a third option potentially too, and that would be taking a look at the facade improvement program criteria, because I know we're still getting a lot of discussion at the Council Horseshoe when we get those applications. And for me, the standards that staff apply to the project through our policy aren't high enough to meet the standard that I want to see the tax money going towards to subsidize redevelopment. For me, having all the programs turned on makes a lot of sense because we don't get subscriptions to all of them every year. But having them all open and every year gives whoever is pursuing a development opportunity that opportunity to apply for them. The 1%, I think makes sense still if we can hold that placeholder in the budget. But I'd be okay seeing that decreased a little bit, knowing how the constraints are, but I'd rather have that as a conversation with the budget, not just so much for a pre-budget approval tonight. But my main point is just I'd like to see that facade improvement program strengthened so that we stop having these discussions and we set clear expectations with the property owners when they're making their applications, so we don't have as much back and forth in the future.
So I'm hearing support from you for accepting the report, for initiating all 15, but you would like a review of number 13, front, side, and rear facade improvements. So we'll come back to that. Thank you. Councillor Miller?
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Good report. I do support both of your recommendations, and I'm not opposed to Councillor McGuire's suggestion that we look at that facade recommendation or review. I struggled with some of our decisions this year, and so if we can tighten that up, I'm game.
Anyone else? Councillor Robinson?
Thank you. I think I'll support Councillor Miller and Councillor McGuire on that. I don't see any reason why we should. So,
Okay.
Good report, Richard.
I see nodding head from Councillor Quinn, Councillor Brennan. Please go ahead, Councillor Brennan.
You can hear me. Thanks, Richard. Yeah, I support your recommendations. And on the facade report, I'd like to hear more about how Councillor McGuire would like to tighten it up. I get that, but I'd like to hear more about that.
Okay. I will ask Mr. Grant, is there any planned review of any of these that is already in the books for this coming year?
So in terms of operations, we do want to make it easier for applicants to apply. So I know we get a lot of facade applications that sometimes require 1 or 2 redos because maybe we're not asking the right questions in terms of what they're submitting, or they need to just submit what we asked for. For example, a site sketch for the facade. Sometimes some applicants don't have a person to do the drawings, right? So they know what they want, they just don't know how to show us what they want. So sometimes for your review at council, you have no real understanding because the elevation isn't adequate. So I can understand that being a problem for applicants.
So you could see that fitting into your work plan, a review of that?
Yes.
Okay. Did you want to get any more specific, or is that enough? It sounds like
I can talk CIP all night.
No,
but, I don't know if that's in the scope of tonight's discussion. I think,
no.
But yeah, happy to.
And would the expectation be that those, after it's reviewed and those draft changes, they would come back here for consideration? Yes. And what's a reasonable turnaround on that if you want to impact this year?
So the window for the spring is technically open now and it closes on March 31st.
Okay.
If we're making any substantial changes to the programs, we wouldn't touch it for the spring because it wouldn't be fair to applicants right now, but we can address it in the fall.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? So is that enough direction?
Yeah.
Mayor Panko?
Yeah, I'll support what's been said here. The only question, I guess, is just related to promotion. And how do we, what methods we take to ensure that the community and those that may be interested are aware of the program. I know we've spent the money, but a limited number of applications. And I think, especially as it relates to the universal accessibility improvements and recurrence of the AODA for 2025, and just the needs in our community to create better accessibility, both interior and exterior. So, I mean, I know we use our social media to promote. What else can we do to try to help get the word out that there is potential funding available to help these businesses, especially make those improvements that are necessary?
Well, I think we could do more of a workshop, something that's more in person, because I think for the folks who are applying, they may be aware of the program, but in terms of how they feel comfortable applying, they may not necessarily have all the information they need. So something that breaks the wall down a little bit easier, breaks the ice a little bit, and if they want to take it further, they can apply in person or reach out to us for an application.
It's a great idea, yeah. Thank you.
And there was a question come up earlier around the surplus from last year that was unspent.
Right.
How does is that carried over? Is it added to the total of the next year, or is that just what happens to that money?
So 2 things. One, so contracts now have an 18-month completion timeline. So if the application is not completed in that time, the money goes back into that pot for that next year that's available. So it's not the next year usually, but the year after.
So it
That's
could be
18
beyond
months.
the 12 months. It was, okay.
Right. And then anything in terms of what was budgeted goes back into the next year.
Okay, thank you. All right, is that enough direction for the clerk? You've got all that down? Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we're going to talk 10.2, and as noted, Councillor Miller's stepping out. And 10.2 is the 2025 community grants allocation, and Ms. Crowder is going to walk us through that. Welcome.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Chair, the report before you, as you said, is with regards to the 2025 community grant allocations. We recently revamped the policy this year, and that was approved by council. And that included a number of stakeholder consultations. We received 23 individual applications this year, 3 of which were deemed ineligible when we went through the evaluation process. So we have 20 eligible applications that have been submitted, totaling a combined total of $222,000. The staff committee took 2 days to review the applications, and the recommendation before you is to fund the majority of those based on what we had allocated of the 1%, which is roughly $210,000. So I'm happy to take any questions on any of the applications or the decisions. We did use the evaluation matrix that were approved as part of the policy. There is a different evaluation matrix for a community organization versus an event or a program, just so that we were able to separate those two very different services that are being provided in our community.
Okay, great, thank you. Looking to my colleagues.
Oh, sure, I'll get started.
Please, Mayor Panko.
Thanks, Julia. I like a great result and a much improved process. I think when, if I go back over a decade ago, and Councillor Quinn and Brandon were there at the time, when it was a very political decision process on getting to the allocations, and we had agreed at the time to create a methodology and create a point scoring system and try to remove some of those individual favoritism out of the scenario. And the result today, after the retooling this year, I think really speaks to that. I mean, it's a defendable methodology, and I think in the end we're getting to where we need to be. So I'll certainly support the recommendations.
Councillor Brewer, go ahead.
I guess I'm a little bit more on the other side of the spectrum where looking at the allocations, I've got questions of, say, Porch Fest scores a 76%, so it gets roughly that amount of what it's been asking for. But then, sorry, the table's really small. If we look at, where's Ribfest? I can't find it now. Just trying to compare event to event, I don't understand without more information what, why one would score a certain amount, one would score a different amount. To me, I don't think the town should be subsidizing the Ribfest, because that's food trucks come in, food trucks make a lot of money, alcohol vendors make a lot of money, where Porch Fest is more of a grassroots community neighborhood event where independent musicians are coming in, a lot of people are coming from out of town to watch the music. It's got a lot higher cultural arts value to it. So policy-wise, that's something where I don't know if we need to tweak it or what the reasoning is from the information we've got right here, but I don't know why. And then it's just such a range of stuff. It's hard to, some of it's very, there's a lot of programming-based things, and then there's event-based things, and it's hard to compare and contrast, but
Ms. Crowder, do you want to comment on that?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So with regards to Porch Fest, it's not that he got what he was allocated as per his scoring. It was that he was only eligible. He asked for 10, but was only eligible for the 76. So he got the full amount that he was eligible for. So based on the scoring criteria and how much money we had, if you scored high, then you were at the top of the list, you were the first one to get the full amount. So we went down through every application until the money was out, basically. And that's how we prepared the scoring. So each of the evaluation criteria, there's one specifically for community organizations, that's out of 30. And then anything for events or programs or more social related, then that's out of 33. And it's based on the approved evaluation criteria that, community organizations, they're supporting social services, which are very different from programs and events, but those are also very important to our community from a cultural perspective. I think, RibFest is growing to be one of our signature events. Although they do bring in food trucks, they also support and they also host a lot of local businesses as well. So that's something that it's giving an opportunity for some of our smaller independent local businesses to set up shops and set up booths in order to sell their wares and get more awareness and generate revenue through an event.
Thanks. And I guess where it comes from the policy perspective is that the RibFest is going to get $13,775. The Porch Fest gets $7,675. The RibFest it's a money-making event. It's a commerce-based event. It's not an arts, cultural, that kind of event. The fact that the formula allows one to get almost twice as much money as the other one, when the revenues that are potentially there for Porch Fest are just not the same league as what people are spending money on RibFest. Meanwhile, I know we get a lot of complaints from local restaurants that they're dead that weekend because everybody's out at RibFest. So that's where I'd like to see some policy tweaking for next year. I get that this is what it is now. I don't want to politicize it now, but I think that's an indicator that there's still some improvement that needs to happen here.
Okay. Any other comments? Councillor Brennan?
Yeah, thanks for this, and I would echo what the mayor said about the process that we used to have and the process we have now. And I would note too that anybody that is getting more than $10,000 is going to come and talk to us, I think, next week. So I'm interested and looking forward to those conversations to see what actually they're doing with the taxpayer money they're getting. I know it's all going to a good cause, whatever it is, but that's another element of transparency we have here. They come and talk to us. They're getting over $10,000.
Okay, so are you saying that you want to wait till those presentations before you approve the recommended funding amounts?
Well, that will come, I believe, after it's not on council tonight. So we'll have the presentations, if I'm not mistaken, to the clerk that we're not passing that tonight, but I'm just saying that we have some transparency to listen to the significant knowledge they're going to, we can listen to what they're going to do. But I support,
Generally supportive, but wanting to hear the.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other, Councillor Robinson?
Thank you. I just have one question. I need to clarify this in my head. The total submissions is 222,699.
Yeah.
The amount of funding for 2025 could be up to 210,000. Are you recommending that we give out 208,944?
Correct.
Okay, because I just wanted to make sure we weren't asking for 210 because not this year. Anyway, okay, that clarified it for me. Thank you very much.
So I'm hearing Councillor McGuire.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And just to follow up too, I love how the organizations come and present and we get that information, but then we never see what the impact was. We never get a report on, we spent this much on this event, this many people attended. We spent this much on this programming, this many people were fed or serviced, or I'd like to see more of that side of it too. And I don't know what the right way to, it might not be having the organization come, but is there any reporting following that? And could we get that in a report?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So each applicant is required to do a report at the end of the year in order to get the final payment. So we do, as staff, collect all that money and review those applications before we give out that. So it's something that we can definitely compile for the 2024 year and bring that back as information.
Awesome.
So I'm hearing Councillor Quinn.
I think that's a really good point, because I'm hearing what Councillor McGuire is saying, but if we saw those figures, then maybe you'd have a different feel for what Ribfest brings in as compared to what Porchfest brings in. I'm not saying either one of them aren't good, but we would have a completely different feel. We'd be able to see what did they actually generate. So yes, they were worth supporting, or maybe we should rethink what we have supported them with. I like that idea very much. Thank you, Councillor McGuire. That's
And through you, just for clarification, are you looking for something a little more dialed down to each individual application, or do you want a high-level summary in total of what we were able to leverage and the impact to the community?
I was hoping for some high level. Otherwise, we're getting into the work of the committee, and whether I trust the process, and I trust the committee, and I thank the committee for doing their work. I don't want to start revisiting the whole thing. So I'll just go back to Councillor McGuire.
For me, I would like to see it line by line, because when we're trying to craft, it's really hard to craft these policies when we don't have the data to back it up. And to me, the backbone of, not to pick on Ribfest, but the backbone of that event is that out-of-town vendors come in, they charge a premium for a product, and they take big profits out when they leave town. So when an event like that, based on the policy, is getting a very high amount compared to more of a grassroots event that's more arts and culture oriented, I want to see more detail to understand why and what there is about the policy that we could tweak to maybe at least make it more fair, because that's where we come in, right? The policy, not deciding the funding.
Yeah, I'll just look to see if anybody has any more comments. I think if we get into that level of that detailed review, we're saying that your first question was around, could we take a look at a policy question? And that's fine, but now we're getting down into whether we like a program or service. I might love Ribfest, and I think it's worth every penny of it. So if we're going to get into our favorites, and you're not suggesting that, but I could point out all the good things that Ribfest does, and you're going to point out all the money leaving town. And then we're into this discussion here at council, which is what we're trying not to go back to from the old days. So Councillor McGuire, and then I'll go back to Ms. Crowder.
Yeah, I want to clarify. I don't want to debate where the funding is allocated based on this year's policy. I'm content that there was a consensus of council. We decided on a policy, applications came in. But I also want us to be able to look at policies and say, if we can improve a policy, you know, if there's a clear thing of a certain wording or a certain way things been set up that maybe isn't getting the goals we want, that's what I'm more interested in. And it's just having those results. It's not about the event itself or the specific names of them. It's just about what's giving the most impact in this policy and how can we make the policy better.
Okay, Mayor Panka.
If I may, I think a broad report to council, more of a summary level, higher level. But then as elected officials, we have the privilege of seeing the details of every report submitted by every recipient as well. So I think that if anybody wants to go deeper, we can go to staff and get that deeper information. We want to go view it that way.
Ms. Crowder, I promise to get back to you, please.
And through you, as Councillor Brennan said, the applicants, most of them are reoccurring applicants. So having them come back on Monday will give council the opportunity to ask some of those questions and clarification. Leslie will do a great job of explaining the reason why Ribfest is really successful and that it's a tourism event, and they had about 10,000 people come into our community this year. So I think that's another way that you can get a little bit more information from the applicants themselves in order to figure out what the impact of their ask is.
Thanks.
And I just note that many of these grants are like 5,000, 2,600, and to go into a detailed report for the spending of $2,000, spending a lot of staff time, the return on that investment, I'm just not convinced it's there. There's nothing stopping any member from council from reviewing those policies and coming up with specific suggestions and bringing them forward for consideration, as opposed to Anyways, I'll stop there. Councillor McGuire has suggested a review of the decision-making process around this process, the policy. And I'm looking to council to see if there's support for that. I'm not seeing it. And at least for this year, when those organizations come in to make the presentation, obviously the more they can market the product that they're getting the grants for, the better that is, with the kind of information that Councillor McGuire and others would be interested in. So I'm seeing CEO Morris.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think what I would suggest is if there are specific questions about a specific application, we can provide you with the report from last year. Submission of that final report is a criteria for getting funding in future years. And perhaps reviewing that report might inform the questions you may want to ask the applicant at the presentation. So if you have a specific one you want to see, Ms. Crowder can provide it to you electronically right away.
So great work, and thank you to the committee. Council is supportive of this grant. Process is getting better all the time, and there's always room for more suggestions. Thank you, Councillor McGuire. And if council, any member of council would like to see that review, reach out to Ms. Crowder and she'll be happy to share it. Thank you. Our new 10.3 is committee appointments. And I'll turn to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have good news this evening. I have 2 applications that have been submitted for the Public Arts Advisory Committee. Richard Grant and Jonathan Lee have both put their names forward, and their applications have been supported by staff. The other is for the Heritage House Museum Advisory Board. Virginia Tofanello has put her name forward, and again, that application has been supported. With Council's approval, we'd like to bring forward a resolution this evening to formally appoint these individuals. As well, we'd like to bring forward a resolution to formally appoint a member of council to serve as the council liaison for the Public Arts Advisory Committee. So looking for a volunteer amongst all of you for that committee.
I'll just see if there's thumbs up on the committee appointments that we had. Seeing thumbs up. And is there a volunteer from council who'd like to join the Councillor McGuire?
Nobody's gunning for it. I can take it on.
Is there anybody else before we close nominations? Thank you, Councillor McGuire, very much. Appreciate that. And
thank you.
Appreciate your work. Any committee, board, or external organization updates? Seeing none. We do have information and correspondence from Chief Gene Richardson, Township Rideau Lakes, the automatic aid fire protection system. Chief Cheeseborough, would you like to speak to this letter, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On December the 3rd, CAO Morris received a copy of a letter sent directly to him regarding the automatic aid and fire protection service agreement we have with Rideau Lakes. This program has been in place since 2005, so we're just honing in on the 20-year mark by the end of the year. The letter indicates that they are providing 12 months written notice of the termination of this agreement. Rideau Lakes has built their new fire hall just behind Lombard Manor, and they feel that new building would be able to provide the adequate level of service that's needed for Rideau Lakes. They wish to continue with the mutual aid agreement that was put in place in 2017. So there is some discussion still to come regarding the mutual aid agreement that I will be having with Chief Richardson this year.
Thank you, Chief. Could you just clarify for all of us and those listening the difference between mutual aid and automatic aid?
Absolutely. The mutual aid process, what we currently have, is typically done within the county structure. So municipalities within the county have agreed through council endorsement resolution that in the outside the day-to-day operations. If manpower, equipment, or resources are needed on a reciprocal basis, these municipalities would interact back and forth at no charge. The automatic aid agreement is the same as a fees for service agreement, is where a municipality requires the assistance of either a neighboring municipality to provide a level of service that they are currently capable of providing in a timely fashion, either due to the size and scope of their municipality, or it's a remote area. It's not uncommon in Ontario for automatic aid agreements to provide that level of service. And it's a service that I can say from my time here that Smith Falls has done an exceptional job in providing that level of service to the residents of Rideau Lakes. And we certainly are looking forward to continued cooperation between both municipalities and working cooperatively in the interest of fire protection.
Thank you. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for my own personal interest, how often did your department make calls out into Rideau Lakes, like Golf Club Road or out Highway 15 this past year? And what impact will that have on those residences or businesses?
Through the chair, I printed off the 2022 calls, which was 49 incidences. 2023 was 49. 2024, we're at 60 calls. This number is averaged since the inception of this agreement, approximately 50 calls per year, with 1 year having, I believe it was 73 calls. The impact to the residents regarding their
response time?
Well, I can't, that's,
it was more of a personal interest thing.
That's a difficult question. Depending on where the volunteers are located within Rideau Lakes, if they're close to the new hall, response times could be fairly quickly. Depending on whether or not they're committed at another call, would be the same as if we were committed at a call at our response time. So it'd be very difficult to answer that question, to provide something of accurate nature to answer that question.
Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Not at all.
I know. I wish Rideau Lakes success with their new fire hall, and I'm sure the people will be well served out there. Thanks for bringing this to our attention, Chief. And this will go on for 12 months, and then it ends.
It ends December 31st of 2025.
Okay. Seeing nothing else. Okay. Thanks, Chief. I'm not aware of any notice of motions, so I'll seek a motion to adjourn the committee meeting at 5:57 and stay adjourned until the next duly called meeting. Moved by Councillor Robinson, second by Councillor Quinn. All in favor? Meeting's adjourned.
Good evening. Welcome back to this meeting of Smith Falls Town Council for Monday, January 6th, 2025. I'll open the meeting with our land acknowledgement. On January 6th, 2025, we acknowledge that the sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and has rich Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile all our relations. Together, we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. Call the meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. We'll make a couple of amendments to the agenda. We'll delete item 10.1, which did not come forward from the whole. We'll do it from the whole thing. And we're going to renumber item 10.1 to bylaw 10600-2025 instead of 10601. Motion for approval of the agenda is with Councillor Robinson.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Quinn, that the January 6th, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be approved as amended.
Amended, yeah. Moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Quinn, that the January 6th, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be approved as amended. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Ask for disclosure of pecuniary interest and or conflict of interest in general nature thereof. I see none. Moving on to the minutes, Councillor Quinn.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Robinson. The minutes of December 16th, 2024 council meetings be approved as circulated.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Quinn, seconded by Councillor Robinson. That the minutes of the December 16th, 2024 council meeting be approved as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Council reports. Anyone have any reports? Yes.
One, Your Worship, as you know, I'm the Smith Falls representative on the Leeds Grenville Lanark District Health Unit Board of Directors. And as you also know, the Leeds Grenville Lanark Health Unit formally merged with two other health units, Kingston and Hastings Prince Edward, on December 31st at midnight. And as of January 1st, the new corporation, the new health unit serving our community and many others is the Southeast Health Unit. And you'll also know that I was reappointed by this council to represent the town on that new board. And so I wish them luck in the new organization. So far at midnight, December 31st, one stopped and another one started. So that's my update, and I'll have more information. Our next board meeting is in the middle of January. They're daytime meetings. We're switching from evenings to daytimes. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other reports? Seeing none, I guess from, I've got a few announcements myself. Just want to start with an expression of gratitude. As many of us took some time off during the break, we know we had much of our staff who was still out there working hard. And I think of our police service who was out there 24/7, 365, our fire service as well, with someone there and available, always on call, always responding as needed. Public works staff out there keeping the roads and sidewalks plowed and safe for all of us to get around. Of course, our water and wastewater crews who are, again, always on board. I may not always be in the building, but always making sure that everything is flowing properly. And then we turn the tap on, we've got water, and things are always looked after. Community services staff, again, maintain operations through the season at the community center and youth arena. We know sometimes can be busy times there. At the same time, I want to take a moment just to recognize as we sort of get through the midway point of this term of council and express the gratitude to the number, really dozens, I guess, of people who populate our boards and committees, who dedicate so much of their time, their energy, their expertise to make sure that we have great insight, and they share their wisdom with us and enable us to make some great decisions. So as we approach that second half of our term, just to say thank you to all of them for the work that they do and the commitment they make. Same time, there is still some openings in some of our committees, and we will be appointing some this evening, and always a couple others. So anyone is interested can reach out to Clerk Costello. We still, maybe someone doesn't want to be a 4-year commitment. Now would be a great time for basically a 2-year commitment to a committee and see how much you may enjoy it. As well, we've got the budget looked after. It's not the budget, the agenda looked after. We're adding, I don't think I added, no, I didn't add the committee appointments, or it's already on there. Sorry, my mistake here. Yes. And then we have two student counselors here this evening, two, I guess, pending student counselors. We need to have come forward and commit an oath of office. So Riker Smith, a grade 12 student at SFDCI. Riker's familiar to probably all of us here. Member of the cross-country track and soccer teams. Currently student counselor, Crow president, and a member of the student senate. So Riker, welcome this evening. I'll have you come forward in a moment. And then Ryan Hooper, also a student at SFDCI, very interested in politics affecting Canada, certainly affecting our community. He was a youth. Having knowledge about the political world is a good bonus to understanding the wants and needs of the next generation Canadians. And certainly we look forward to the two of you being student counselors here, participating, expressing yourselves fully. Don't ever hold back. Let us know what you think. We want to get your perspective. It'll help get us to the best decisions as well. So they will be attending as active student counselors on the 13th. But for today, we want to have you come forward and do your oath. So I guess Clerk Costello will come after. You don't want me to?
I'm doing pictures.
Okay.
You do the formal work.
Okay. Hey, Riker, you're first. Come on, please. Okay, and if you can, either if you have a choice, if you can put your hand on the Bible or simply state an oath.
I'm going to say an oath. I'm going to say an oath.
Okay, and
because I'm like Trump, I'm actually going to follow it.
Okay, and then if you can maybe come here on the side, if you're on camera, and if you can recite this, and then be prepared to sign.
All right. I, Riker Smith, have been elected or appointed to the office of student counselor in the town of Smiths Falls. Do solemnly promise and declare that I will truthfully, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary, thank you, interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, and I make this solemn promise and declaration consistently believing it to be true and knowing that it was made of the same force and effect as if made under oath.
Okay. Congratulations. Take your vote. You're up. Welcome.
Yep. All right. I, Ryan Hooper, having been elected or appointed to the office student counselor in the town of Smiths Falls, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truthfully, faithfully, and impartially exercise the office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in biased, corrupt, or any improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithfully and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, and I make this solemn promise and declaration continuously believing it to be true and knowing that it is the same force and effect as if made under oath.
Congratulations. wisdom grows at our next meeting. Okay, we're all set. Okay, moving ahead with our agenda, I have also one proclamation to make this evening, and that is Alzheimer's Awareness Month, January 2025. Whereas each January, the Alzheimer's Society supports and leads Canada's Alzheimer's Awareness Month. Whereas during this month, the Alzheimer's Society encourages organizations across Canada and individuals to learn more about dementia and its stark impact on Canadians. Whereas Alzheimer's Awareness Month may stop at the end of January, the experiences of people who live with dementia does not. And whereas by understanding what people living with dementia experience in their day-to-day lives, their struggles, their successes, and their hopes, together we can raise awareness of dementia throughout Canada. And whereas awareness is a first step to fighting stigma, reinforcing human rights, and pushing for policy change, as well as other actions that can lift up Canadians living with dementia. Now, therefore, I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the Town of Smiths Falls, on behalf of the Corporation of the Town of Smiths Falls, hereby proclaim January 2025 as Alzheimer's Awareness Month in the Town of Smiths Falls, and further that the bandstand and municipal complex be illuminated in blue for the month of January in recognition of Alzheimer Awareness Month. Okay, moving into our motions. No consent agenda today, but into our motions, we have a committee appointments, which is with Councillor Miller, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McGuire, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smiths Falls appoint the following applicants for the remainder of the 2022 to 2026 term of council, or until new appointments are made via resolution. Heritage House Museum Advisory Board, Virginia Toffanello. Public Arts Advisory Committee, Richard Grant and Jonathan Lee. And further, that Councillor Chris McGuire be appointed as the council representative on the Public Arts Advisory Committee. With our thanks.
Discussion, please.
Just a big thank you to the volunteers who have stepped forward to do this important work. We really appreciate your time and energy. This is how good work gets done. And thank you very much to Councillor McGuire for adding more to your plate. Appreciate it.
Okay, any further comments? Okay, moved by Councillor Miller and seconded by Councillor McGuire. The Council of Corporation of the Town of Smiths Falls appoint the following applicants the remainder of the 2022-2026 term of council, or until new appointments are made via resolution. Heritage House Museum Advisory Board, Virginia Toffanello. Public Arts Advisory Committee, Richard Grant and Jonathan Lee. And further, the Councillor Chris McGuire be appointed as a council representative on the Public Arts Advisory Committee. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And item 9.2, community improvement plan is with Councillor McKenna.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that council accept report 2025-003, Smiths Falls Community Improvement Annual Monitoring Report for information, and that council activate all financial incentive programs under the Smiths Falls Community Improvement Plan for the 2025 year program. And there's 15 of these. Program 1, exterior universal accessibility improvement program. 2, interior universal accessibility improvement program. 3, attainable housing development charge rebate. 4, attainable housing building permit fee and planning application fee rebate. 5, attainable housing tax increment equivalent rebate. 6, attainable housing additional residential unit rebate. 7, attainable housing and universal accessibility co-application. 8, brownfield environmental site assessment rebate. 9, brownfield tax increment equivalent rebate. 10, brownfield building permit fee and planning application fee rebate. 11, brownfield development charge deferral program. 12, brownfield development and attainable housing co-application. 13, front, side, and rear facade improvement rebate. 14, building restoration, renovation, and improvement program. And finally, downtown and waterfront area revitalization and universal accessibility co-application.
Thank you. If we, I guess, only approved a couple, would have been a little quicker, but Further discussion?
Thank you, Worship. There's some these opportunities are available to our business community and our residents, depending on the program. And we really do encourage people to apply. In particular, I would draw your attention, this is 2025, and the Ontario Accessibility Act does ask that businesses and public facilities are accessible to those with disabilities. This is the year. If you haven't done it by now, please fill out an application to do so. The town invests a significant amount of money in these grants and rebates, and that is often matched or exceeded by the private sector out there. So we really do encourage you to apply. As we heard earlier, Planner Grant offered to host a workshop. If anybody wanted more information, they're a phone call away. It's a relatively straightforward program, and we would love to see a full uptake on all of these opportunities.
Thank you. Any further comments or discussion? It's moved by Councillor McKenna, seconded by Councillor Robinson. The council accept the report 2025-003 Smith Falls Community Improvement Plan CIP Annual Monitoring Report for information. The council activate all financial incentive programs under the Smith Falls Community Improvement Plan for the 2025 year. Program 1, Exterior Universal Accessibility Improvement Program. Program 2, Interior Universal Accessibility Improvement Program. Program 3, Attainable Housing Development Charge Rebate. Program 4, Attainable Housing Build-up Permit Fee and Planning Application Fee Rebate. Program 5, Attainable Housing Tax Increment Equivalent Rebate. Program 6, Attainable Housing Additional Residential Unit Rebate. Program 7, Attainable Housing and Universal Accessibility Co-application. Program 8, Brownfield Environmental Site Assessment Rebate. Program 9, Brownfield Tax Increment Equivalent Rebate. Program 10, Brownfield Building Permit Fee and Planning Application Fee Rebate. Program 11, Brownfield Development Charge Deferral Program. Program 12, Brownfield Development and Attainable Housing Co-application. Program 13, Front Side and Rear Facade Improvement Rebate. Program 14, Building Restoration, Renovation and Improvement Program. And Program 15, Downtown and Waterfront Area Revitalization and Universal Accessibility Co-application. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving forward, inquiries and announcements. Councillor Brennan.
So, I asked about maybe we do a trivia question, and this is an oldie but a goodie, so I would ask my colleagues for the last term maybe to refrain, but you probably don't remember it anyway. So the question is, how did Newmagate get its name? Anybody?
Councillor Hanna.
So I'll give you a clue. It was named in 1840 by the self-elected postmaster of Newmagate. His name was John Ferguson. The road's probably named after him. So what Newmagate is Montague with the letters jumbled up. And that's how he came up with Newmagate. So it's Montague.
Interesting. Thank you. And we have a volunteer, Councillor McGuire will do the trivia the next councilman. Thank you. Any further? Any other inquiries or announcements? Seeing none, a confirmatory bylaws with Councillor Quinn, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Miller, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meetings on the 2nd and 16th day of December 2024 be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Quinn, seconded by Councillor Miller, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting on the 2nd and 16th days of December 2024 be received or read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Discussion, Councillor Quinn?
This is something that happens on a regular basis just to confirm these proceedings so that we know they have been documented.
Thank you. Third reading, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Miller, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meetings on the 2nd and 16th day of December 2024 be now read a third time, finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10600 2025.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Quinn, seconded by Councillor Miller, that bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting on the 2nd and 16th days of December 2024 be now read a third time and finally pass, signed, sealed, and numbered 10600-2025. All in favor? That's carried. Motion for adjournment is with Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I am delighted to make this motion. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Brennan, that this council adjourn its proceedings at 6:22 p.m. and stand so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Robinson, second by Councillor Brennan. This council adjourn proceedings at 6:22 p.m. Stand so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council. All in favor? We're adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Right.